Hey guys, it's me, Halloween Dan, doing another video today because I want to just talk about one or two last few things, a few things I haven't had a chance to talk about that I really want to talk about, just a couple more props, one from Home Depot, one from Spirit Halloween that I haven't spoken about. It's kind of like housekeeping this, just clearing up the last couple of things I haven't yet done a video about. But the second part of this video is talking about something, a kind of decoration that you see a lot of in the Halloween community. They are everywhere and a lot of people love them. But a lot of people also hate them and kind of see them as tacky and won't use them in their horn and kind of look down their noses at the people who do use them in their horn. There's a slightly, I want to use the word snobbish vibe amongst some around these particular sorts of decorations. And it's a snobbishness that I, myself, experienced once. I've spoken about this before. I've made a video like this before where I've talked about these particular kinds of decorations. But I just wanted, now I've got a few more subscribers, I wanted to cast the net a little further, see what everyone else's opinions are. Now a couple of years have passed, see if anything's changed, if opinions have changed maybe, or see if that snobbishness, or that snobbishness is maybe too harsh of a word, but that sort of dislike of them because they're not overly realistic is still a thing. Because as well as talking about a couple of props and reviewing them and reacting to them, I also want to talk about some inflatables. And also ask the question, inflatables, good or bad? Let's do this. So first of all, I want to talk about a prop I'm really excited about, and that is a new prop coming out for Home Depot. I've talked briefly about this, but we haven't had a huge amount of detail about this prop until about this time last week, when we saw at least the outer boxes for a very cool prop that has been named Fears Through the Years Victorian Vampire, otherwise known as Nosferatu. Nosferatu! I love Nosferatu as a character, and I love vampires and Dracula and anything that's related to that kind of stuff. They're my favourite kind of horror characters. And I was on the fence about this guy. I don't know what I was expecting. I thought he was going to be 9 foot. The pictures we've had of him so far had been very grainy. Not a lot to go off. And then last week we saw this picture of the box. One slightly good element is he's not 9 foot, he's 7 foot. He's still a pretty big prop, I would say, still a little too big for what this character is. But then again, he's not Nosferatu, he's Victorian vampire. So yeah, I suppose he's kind of a new character in that sense. But from the pictures we've got, this is a pretty cool looking vampire. He's got the classic Nosferatu bald head, bushy eyebrows, pointy ears, very white. He looks really ominous, really frightening. I love the eyes. They're very piercing. I'm assuming they're lit, which I'm not always a fan of when eyes are lit. But actually in this prop, it might work really well. He hasn't got the classic Nosferatu little pointy teeth at the front, but they are something very similar. There is a similarity there. You've got that kind of notch out of the front 2 teeth, so it gives it that look of those 2 little pointy teeth that Nosferatu's famous for having. And then it's just, from what we see in the picture, just a black outfit, and it says head, torso and mouth move, motion activated, speak 6 different phrases. So it'd be really interesting to hear what those phrases are, because this was my only worry about this particular prop, because originally Nosferatu is a silent era character. Yes, he talks, but you don't hear his voice. It will be interesting to know what he says and how he says it and what voice they use. It could make or break this prop, I'm not gonna lie, that voice. But it'd be interesting to see exactly what the motion is and how animated it really is, and yeah, hear them phrases. I'll be very excited. But I really do like the look of this prop. I'm very excited by this prop. It's edged up, just from this one picture, it's edged up into my top echelons of Home Depot props for this year. It could even be in third or second place right now. It might even edge towards first, depending upon what we see of it yet to come. Then we've got one of the props that we heard the name of from Spirit Halloween weeks ago now, but we hadn't seen any images of it until last week, about 5 days ago, I think it was, when we suddenly see Night Terror in its fullness. Now, Night Terror sounded like it could be an incredible prop, and I'm not gonna lie, it's mediocre. It's very basic. It's a pumpkin-headed kind of creature. It's got a classic sort of jack-o'-lantern face on this thing, except that it's like a black burnt kind of looking jack-o'-lantern. He's got claw-like hands. He's wearing a very basic sort of green Hessian type suit or robe, whatever you want to say. And the movement of this, the only footage we've got of him is he's laughing and his head's kind of bobbing forward. It does remind me of something we've seen from Sunstar before. I'm not going to say it's a Sunstar prop. It might be, I don't know, but it reminds me a bit of a Sunstar prop. It's okay. It's actually very budget friendly. I think it's only about $100. I actually really like the look of it. I like the way it's lit in terms of the head is lit. I like it overall, and I think if you're on a budget, this is a pretty creepy, cool little prop. I just think that people were maybe expecting from a name like Night Terror to get something this much more actually terrifying. But now I want to talk about a few props that, for whatever reason, very few people ever actually talk about. And they do seem to take up their own little specific genre within the Halloween community. And there are those that look down their noses at these things, as I said in the intro. And that is inflatables. Now, I want to start by saying I actually really like inflatable props. I think they're very cool. And I love seeing all the new ones that come out every year and how people use them in their displays. I think for instant Halloween impact, you can't go far wrong with these things. And this year, there's been some really cool additions. I've already talked in a previous video about the big Beetlejuice one that's coming out of Party City, the 12-foot thing. That's epic. Love the look of that. But along with that, we've had a whole raft of other cool ones released. There's some from At Home, there's some from Spirit, and there's some we've seen from Lowe's. I think Lowe's have done some new ones to do with the Haunted Mansion. I've seen one that's like a little gargoyle guy, and it's quite a big one. Spirit have done their usual and gone down the slightly spookier, more horror genre type ones. So I've seen a clown, I've seen Sam, and there's also like a big kind of inflatable owl on top of a tombstone. It's only 4.5 foot, but it's still quite impressive. I do like the way it looks. I think my favorite inflatable I've seen so far from Spirit is this 12-foot arch of Jack the Reaper, who is of course the symbol of Spirit Halloween. I think this looks really awesome. I love the way it's lit. I love that emblem in its own right. So I think if you're a real Spirit nut, you'll love this just anyway. It would look great at the front of a horn. It would maybe even work in a carnival type horn too. I really love the way that looks. I like the archways that they do that are inflatable. I always think they actually look really good, and this is a good one. But the problem with inflatables is it's not the inflatables themselves, but I kind of feel like it's the attitude that surrounds them. And it's a sad one, really. And it's one that affected me and my haunt. I get sent pictures and videos of people's haunts all the time. People DM me, they send me their pictures and videos, and I love watching them. And a lot of them include inflatables at some point in the haunt. And I really enjoy seeing them. But a lot of the time, the people who send me the pictures of their haunts and inflatables are involved in them are like apologetic. Like, I'm sorry, it's just inflatables, or sorry about all the inflatables. And I'm like, why are you apologizing? They're really cool and they look really good. But at the same time, I think I understand why a lot of people apologize for having inflatables in their horn. Because there is an attitude in the Halloween community that I have stumbled upon where they are certainly seen as the lesser of the props that you can buy in the Halloween community. They are definitely seen by some as unimaginative, a bit tacky, just not particularly enjoyed. And it was an attitude that I didn't know existed for a very long time. I'd never come across it until I had a very minor critique of the one inflatable I happen to have. So let me tell the tale. Long, long ago, in a time before Halloween Dan, my haunt was very basic. It wasn't even a haunt, it was just some static props I had thrown together on my front lawn. And then one year, about 8 years ago, I was going through Amazon, as you do. Not the Amazon, not like the jungle.
I am a wilderness explorer.
But like Amazon. And I saw a Halloween inflatable. And I fell in love with it. It was a tree. It was a 9-foot tree. It had 4 branches, which had pumpkins sat in each branch. It was about £75, and I thought it was great. And I bought it. Now, at the time, that was actually the most expensive singular thing I'd ever bought for Halloween, which sounds crazy now thinking about it, but it was at the time. And I loved that tree, and everyone was so impressed by it. And ironically, people were like, Dan, you're insane buying this thing for £75. And I was like, I know, I'm so crazy. And I loved it. And what I loved about it is what I think a lot of people love about inflatables was that it was simple, it was easy, it was instant impact. You knew what you were getting. Bang, 2 seconds and you had a big 9-foot haunted tree. What can't be good about that? And then after I'd started this channel, maybe after about a year, I put a video up of my haunt, as I do every single year. And I included the tree, as I had done every year up until then. And most of the comments were really positive. And this one was not too bad. But the person messaged saying, love the haunt, Dan, done a really great job. I would just lose the inflatable tree. It doesn't really go with the rest of the haunt, and it kind of takes away from the haunt, I would say. And I read that and I was like, okay, I'll take that on board, that's fine. And after seeing that, I could only ever see that tree then as a negative thing within my haunt. Every time I looked back at that video, I just saw this great big tree, like a massive sore thumb, out of place amongst the rest of my stuff. And because I wanted to go for an ever so slightly more realistic aesthetic and make things, and I was making tombstones by then and doing all that kind of stuff, it did stand out to me that this thing didn't make sense within my haunt anymore, and it maybe was a little bit tacky. So the following year, and every year since, I didn't use the tree. And last year I actually tried to inflate it and it was dead and I had to throw it away. And I was sad about it for like a second. But that's what I mean. That one opinion that opened my eyes to a raft of opinions there, where I was suddenly realizing more and more that within the community, there's a lot of people who do not like these inflatable props. Like, that's the weird thing. Halloween is, you can do what you want, you can do whatever you like, just avoid inflatables, which is weird to me because they are so cool. Some of them are really good. Some of them are really clever. Some of them move. They're really, really good. And what I think is, and this is why I use the word snobby, is it is a sort of snobbishness because I think that by some they're viewed as unimaginative because you literally plug them in and boom, you've got instant impact. But I think that for people who just want to celebrate Halloween and want that instant impact, and they're not really bothered about how realistic things look, I don't think you can go far wrong with inflatables. I think inflatables are some of the cooler props that there are out there. Some of them, and this is controversial, I would say are better than some of the animatronics that are out there. In fact, I would say I'd rather have some of the inflatables to some of the animatronics. Not all of them, just some of the more questionable ones. Like if I had to have, I'm not going to name names, but a particularly questionable clown prop against a really cool inflatable, I would pick the inflatable. But there certainly is this attitude of you can't have both. You can't have a more realistic Halloween display where you've tried to make things look like, I say, a real cemetery or whatever, and then have a big blow up tree right next to it. And I get that. I can kind of understand that. And there, you know, but at the same time, Halloween is supposed to be fun, and it's supposed to be enjoyable, and it's supposed to bring smiles and maybe even a little bit of fear to people who come to visit your home. And I think that inflatables are fun and enjoyable, and they are certainly some of the most Halloween-y kinds of props that you can see out there. The weird thing is though, as much as I like seeing inflatables in other people's haunts, I have now turned against them.
Turn my back on you.
In my own mind, I can't bring myself to include one in my haunt anymore. Mostly because of space, to be honest. They do take up a lot of room, but also because I don't want to ruin the look of my haunt with a big blow up thing, even though I enjoy them. So in a strange kind of way, that one little comment I received a couple of years ago, and then the overall sort of arcing attitude of some elements of the Halloween community have tainted inflatables for me forever, to such a degree that sometimes I feel like I can't even talk about them or enjoy them on my channel, which is sad because I actually really like them and I enjoy seeing them in people's haunts. So I've decided that negativity, even though I would not buy one anymore, I'm not going to let that attitude filter into my videos anymore. And I'm going to talk about inflatables, and I'm going to enjoy inflatables. And if you've got a haunt full of inflatables, well done you, because you're doing what we all should be doing, and that is just enjoying Halloween. And I think that if you enjoy your inflatables and you like seeing other people's inflatable props, there's nothing wrong with that. And if you want to mix and match it with other things and even have a slightly more realistic element to your haunt and then have a big inflatable, you do you. Because you know what? Halloween's for everyone and there are no rules. Do as you please. But what's your opinion? Do you not know what I'm talking about and are like, Dan, I never even knew people were a bit snobby about inflatables? Or did you know about it and don't care? And you just still carry on using inflatables and are looking forward to the new inflatables available this year? Let me know. Maybe you are the other way around. Maybe you do think that inflatables are a bit tacky and can only exist in certain kinds of displays. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. I won't judge. I'm just putting my cards down on the table and saying that 2 years on since I last did that video, my opinion is now that inflatables are cool. I enjoy seeing them. I still wouldn't buy them for myself, but more because I don't really have the space anymore. But I like seeing them, and I think that they're cool. But maybe I'm wrong. Tell me if you think I'm wrong. Anyway, guys, thank you for joining me today, and I will see you in the next one. Keep it spooky. Bye.